For a long time, the Chimera Ant arc felt like it would be known as the opus of Togashi's work. It captured everything I love about Hunter x Hunter: complex developments to the Nen system, major development for our main characters while introducing a dozen or so fantastic new ones, experimental story structuring, and above all else, thematic depth. I have long since thought no arc, maybe ever, would come close to equaling the lasting experience that the Chimera Ant arc gave me. Little did I know that Togashi was just getting started. The Succession War leans into the unknowable elements of Hunter x Hunter's story as we follow the death competition of the Kaken royal family on the way to reaching the New World. The world beyond has always been an underlying theme, and Togashi takes a step into fully embracing it as the aesthetic for this arc. The larger plot of the story is held together through the numerous fascinating character dynamics, like Kurapika's revenge, Hisoka's relationship with the Phantom Troop, beyond Netero's planning, and the Succession War itself. All the while, you can't shake the idea that this exploration could spell the end of humanity. Togashi has sidelined both Gon and Killua for this arc, yet it doesn't miss a beat because of how well layered the Succession conflict is. Even with the hype and ambition, there are still many people who have seen the anime but have not taken the leap into the post-anime material, and that is a real shame, as we have now reached the point where over 15% of Hunter x Hunter's story is manga only. In this video, I want to talk about why I think everyone should read the Succession War, and hopefully give some good value for readers who are also caught up as well. Because this arc is so dense, I will be talking about many of the introductions and base ideas, so if you want to go into the Succession War totally blind, then this video might not be for you. Welcome to Annie Essays. Here we overanalyze anime and manga, with each video on the channel created under the belief that anime, same as film and literature, is worthy of in-depth criticism. If you enjoy my videos, then consider supporting the channel through my Patreon or YouTube membership. More information at the end of the video. There are two major reasons fans of the Hunter x Hunter anime tend to not take the leap into the manga. The first is the sporadic release schedule, and the second is the amount of dialogue Togashi uses, making it seem more intimidating than it actually is. Since 2006, Hunter x Hunter has gone on consistent hiatuses due to Togashi's health. This has resulted in about an average of 8 new chapters a year for the past 19 years. Rightfully, Togashi should always be prioritizing his health above all else. I would much rather Togashi be healthy than ever get another chapter of Hunter x Hunter. This also means that I'm forever grateful for any new content he gives us, and will always cherish every chapter. I am sympathetic to some fans' binge mentality where they want to maximize having as much story as possible when they read. With that being said, I relish the chance to read any new material because the arc is so dense that one chapter holds massive implications for the rest of the story. This isn't to say other weekly or monthly titles don't have depth to them, but Togashi's writing style has a way of worming into my head for months on end with every new chapter. The latest example of this is the Phantom Troop's backstory, which we got in the last batch of chapters, and I've not been able to forget it for a year and a half. There is just so much to sink your teeth into when it comes to the Succession War that even reading 10 chapters at a time gives you plenty to feel satisfied. But this leads into what I think most anime fans' problem is with starting Togashi's writing, especially in this arc: text. It seems like you can't go a day without seeing a meme floating around about how Togashi should write a light novel instead. And yeah, there's no denying that Togashi will hit you with pages that are filled with dialogue, but I think most quickly move from the "there's too much dialogue" camp and firmly sit in the "this is the most ambitious arc I have ever read" camp. For Togashi, he can only capture that ambition by conveying the nuances of the complex situations he creates. A few months ago, when Jujutsu Kaisen was nearing its end, one chapter took the community by storm: a simple conversation between the main character and the antagonist. For Gege, Jujutsu Kaisen's author, action was always his calling card for storytelling, so when he made a chapter that focused solely on dialogue, it hit the fanbase like a freight train. I think authors authors can always leverage the absence of storytelling techniques to create a greater impact when they do pivot to something else. The absence of dialogue in Jujutsu Kaisen made this character interaction hit even harder, and that is the same principle Togashi uses when he gets to panels like these. Togashi's focus on dialogue allows him to create situations of vast scope and unwavering tension. He may spend a page telling you about the planning of another person, a hyper-specific nen technique, and the effect of these moments is a rich web of life or death situations with fantastical nen solutions. The reason Hunter x Hunter is different from a light novel is in these moments of visual storytelling that recontextualize the story. In this arc, Togashi continuing to lean into the horror side of things, as he does a fantastic job at depicting the malice or weight of a situation. And if anyone actually thinks Togashi can't draw, then they've never picked up a page of his work. And if it sounds intimidating, don't worry, as the flow of the narrative has a way of taking over your mind. Sure, you might have to spend some extra time on a page, but as you start to make connections between the different princes and situations, the read does start to go a lot faster, and you don't fully need to grasp every concept introduced, as this arc more than most gives you a thrilling experience up front, but allows you to see the greater connections the more time you spend with it. The result of Togashi's style is a manga that I have so much fun reading, as it is satisfying seeing the complex inner workings of the story fall into place, on top of having moments that make my jaw drop. I think there is an expectation that reading manga should be easy. Stories with little dialogue can make it a breeze to flip through pages, but we shouldn't be limiting how manga can be written. For Togashi, there's so much purpose behind his style that I don't think anyone who is seriously engaged with this story could ever come away thinking that the dialogue is too much. And just because it isn't an easy thing to read quickly doesn't make it any less fun to read. It's just a different way to tell a story. And the setup of this arc is everything. Now that Gon has completed his journey of finding his dad, Togashi pulls back the narrative focus to the greater world and makes Kurapika and Leorio the center of the story. While Gon and Killua aren't involved in this arc, yet at least, we get so many other players that it doesn't really matter. After so long, it is a pleasure to focus on Kurapika as the main character of this story. His tale of revenge brings new layers of crazy to his character, and the ruthless turn he has taken makes him all the more interesting. We also get a lot more of Pariston and Jean as the two of them compete on the journey to the Dark Continent. Hisoka and the Phantom Troop have their own beef in the background, Netero's son Beyond and his relationship with the Zodiacs run rampant, and of course the Kaken royal family. Beyond Netero is leading an expedition to the Dark Continent, a place of unknown horrors that makes the Chimera ants look like small-time powers. On this giant vessel to the New World, the Kaken royal family are competing in their succession contest, a silent death battle between 14 royal princes. The inner workings of this conflict are what make up the central drama of this arc, while many of our older players lying in wait to make their move. Togashi always finds a way to bring new villains into the fold that add more depth and complexity to the story. In the Hunter exam arc, it started with Hisoka, then quickly turned to the Phantom Troop, again through maybe the weakest of the major villains, but he still packs a punch, especially near the end of his arc. The greatness of the Chimera Ant arc is rooted in Meruem and the Royal Guards. In the election arc, we got our first taste of Pariston, who will go on to be a fascinating entity in the Succession War. But Togashi outdoes himself with the princes, and I want to touch on the first two that are introduced. Saraidnik is the fourth prince of the Kaken royal family and the youngest child of the king's first wife. Saraidnik is arguably the most worrisome of all the princes, and he's the sole reason Kurapika gets involved in the contest, as he holds the remaining Kurta eyes. We first meet Saraidnik entertaining some women in his high-class suite. Saraidnik kills both of them for his art, and then complains to his servant that they weren't smart enough, and to make sure that the next women he sends has to have intelligence. Saraidnik embodies the dark side of humanity that Netero mentioned in his fight against Meruem, and soon he speaks to his older brother about the Succession War. The elder eldest son of Kakin, Benjamin, is introduced wrestling a lion while on the phone to let his younger brother know that their father is going through with the death game. In this small interaction, you see the competition and hatred between the two, and can also feel that their power level is likely among the strongest characters we have come across. This arc is basically like the shonen version of the actual show Succession, with much of the wealthy family pettiness elevated into a battle of nen in small armies instead of conversations. And while not all of them have the same sinister side as Sarai, Nick, and Benjamin, they are all just as compelling, with each prince having a vastly different outlook on how the games should be approached. These are people who were all born into incredible wealth, given power over a ton of people, and that has shaped the majority of them into some of the most despicable characters you'll ever come across. What makes it all the more interesting is their relationship with Nen. The succession war, or a closed-door battle to see one prince left alive, is made all the more complicated with the introduction of Nen beasts. These are Nen creatures given to each prince within the contest, the beast taking on the personality of the user and lives to protect them. This leads to a race of learning Nen, as many of the princes never needed to seek the power out before. All of this taking place on a single ship as the war unfolds on the way to the Dark Continent. I know this arc has a lot of setup. The history and lore of the princes and the Kakin royal family is a lot to take in, but Togashi handles this layering of new information with a mix of major payoffs as we reunite with a ton of characters and get events we have long since waited for. So at times it may seem like a lot, but it's one of the reasons I have found it so easy to revisit whenever we get new chapters. The start of this arc is so dense that I always pick up on details I missed before. Even so, it was still exhilarating the first time I read it. The Succession War takes ambition to a new level as Togashi balances about a dozen different threads, new and old characters alike, as he refines the focus of what the story is and can be. Togashi has always had a great ability to convey the darker side of humanity through the way he set up Hunter x Hunter's world and through his paneling. It started with Hisoka in that very first arc, when his bloodlust took over and he turned from a person we felt like we kind of understood into a type of monster that needed to kill. Hunter x Hunter has always been about the adventure, full of characters who move to their more animal impulses. For Jean, that is the freedom to explore. Hisoka, the thrill of fighting strong opponents. And with the chimera ants, we saw the animalistic turn human. Now Togashi has blown the doors open, revealing a dark hunger of humanity, that our goal to expand beyond could destroy us all. Or maybe our internal destruction is already inevitable. The dark morality within Hunter x Hunter is the main reason I come back for more, and it's why the Chimera Ant arc has long since been my favorite. The Succession War takes what the Chimera Ant arc built and raises the stakes to a staggering degree. Just like Beyond, I will wait as long as it takes to see how this arc comes to its conclusion, and to see how the story's new focused main character, Kurapika, ends it. Kurapika taking over the story as the temp main character for an even longer time than we saw in the York New City arc is the last thing I want to touch on in this video. The last time we saw Kurapika was him ignoring Leorio's call to help Gon as he stares at the eyes of his conquest. The end of Gon's quest to find his father was him confronting a darkness within him. Out of our main four, Kurapika is the remaining character to confront and hopefully overcome that darkness. The ending of his quest will likely coincide with the end of the series, or the beginning of the final arc. Kurapika's kind and warm personality has continuously been sullied by the larger world, forcing him to take advantage of his cutthroat talent and drive. He's the ideal character to drive this story forward. All of his enemies surround him. Each chapter he digs deep to find solutions and navigate the world of darkness that has almost swallowed him whole. Above all else, if you love character work, then you should be reading this story immediately, as Kurapika met the void left by Gon's departure, and continues to be the reason I obsess over what is, in my opinion, the most ambitious arc Shonen Jump has to offer, and an arc everyone should experience. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. For those of you who are caught up to Hunter x Hunter, let me know if you'd like a spoiler-filled analysis of this arc. I would love to do that, but I'm just unsure if I would be able to reach enough people. If you enjoy my videos, then consider supporting me through Patreon or my YouTube membership. Here you get access to the channel's Discord server, where I host my monthly anime buddy watch-alongs, as well as get your name at the end of every video and Patreon exclusive channel updates. Thanks again for watching the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.